Welcome to Shoreline Music Monthly. My name is Mark Koshwitz. I think you're going to really enjoy this month's show. On Cabinet of Curiosities, we're going to look at a couple flavors of the steel guitar, which is one of my favorite instruments. I also have some information to pass along for a fun-sounding cycling fundraiser that will benefit the Lyme Land Trust. This month's guest, I'm very excited about. I first saw some time ago. It was a duo format at that point, and in the description of the band, they invoked the names of Richard Thompson and Sandy Denny. I was immediately intrigued, caught the set, and I was not disappointed. I'm very pleased to have with me in a trio format tonight, Brian Wolf, Rose Wolf, and I believe the gentleman's name is Bobo. On the bass, the Ebin-Rose Trio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're glad to be here. Good
to see you. You folks are the first collaborative songwriters we've had. We've had single singer-songwriters, and I don't write music. I'm wondering, how does the collaborative writing process work in your case?
Well, I guess it is somewhat of a system, right?
I don't know if I call it that. A system, possibly. It all starts with an idea. Yeah. Any song starts with an idea. I think the difference is when you have any kind of a collaboration is that you're not going it alone. If you're sort of somebody has an idea that gets to be, you get to develop it from a different perspective. Like if I'm writing a song and it's profoundly depressing, Rose will say, you know, you may want to put a little light in there, you know, it's a little dark, you know, and somebody may bump their head on it, you know.
Now the lyrics, would that be Rose?
It's both of us.
It's both of us, yeah. Sometimes I need to sit with an idea for a while and work on words on my own, and then we come together and work on them together. Brian will, there's occasions where he'll just, an entire song will come out, you know, and then we might work on it together and revise it somewhat. But so we have a little bit of different styles, I think, but we still collaborate and work together.
All works.
Yeah.
It works.
Nice.
And now we have Bobo with us, and there was always in my head there was a stand-up bass. I could hear upright bass, whatever you want to call it, fretless. Back, you know, Pentangle. Danny Thompson and Pentangle, that sound.
One of the best bass players ever.
Yeah, I think 75 years. He's having all these shows, that great work he did with John Martin. But I always heard that in our songs, and we were fortunate enough to have Bobo sit in with us one night, and now he's here with us forever.
Very nice.
Forever, hopefully.
And the funny thing is, hearing Rose and Brian's music, I always heard bass parts in my head. So
as is often the case with a bass player.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't do a lot of solo work. So.
Eberhard Weber?
Well, yeah.
Now, I had heard Wondered Aloud by a guitarist. Just how many different tunings do you use with regularity?
Me? I used to use a lot of tunings. And it was back in the days when I had a band called Pottery. And I'd travel with 4 or 5 guitars because you'd be doing a gig or something and you would just have to be switching guitars. And I got tired of carrying them around. So I've pretty much whittled everything.
Simplify.
Yeah, I've whittled everything down to dadgad and G tuning. And if I can't kind of get it done in dadgad or G tuning, and even the Stray song in standard tuning. But pretty much everything's dadgad and G tuning.
And I was very excited when you had mentioned that the songs you're going to play tonight hadn't been released yet. So at marketing perspective, I'm going with world premiere here.
Well, they have been performed live.
I'm sure they have. I'm clutching. Let me clutch.
But we do have a new CD we're working on, and you know, it's funny because I was interviewed earlier today about it, and they said, well, when's it going to be out? I said, oh, hopefully in 2 weeks, maybe 3, could be a month, maybe July. You know?
When it's done.
It's in the works anyway. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited to hear some of it, so perhaps we can get to that.
Sounds great.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Turn the churning thoughts around. The lightest hope, the hurts and hopes till all fall down. Spurn the early winds of spring. Sip your vinegar if you prefer familiar things. Learn to sing tomorrow's song. Leave alone what leaves you lonely and just run along. Just run along. Standing in your hourglass, a time or two can bury you beneath your past. Sitting while the sand descends, how does it feel to softly steal the day away, away? Learn to sing tomorrow's song. Leave alone what leaves you lonely and just run along. Just run along. Learn to sing tomorrow's song. Leave alone what leaves you lonely and just run along. You run along. Just run along. Pulling out the corner, try to square the past regrets you feel. Close to the legal limit, head over heels straight to hell. Shoot for the middle, there's safety in the numbers there. Various positions make you feel love is assured. Kiss me through the wires once. A new season brings a distance home. Tell me I'm your favorite love. Just once before I turn to stone. Shoot for the middle, there's safety regrets you feel, close to the bigger limits, head over heels, straight to hell. Shoot for the middle, there's safety in the numbers, the various positions make you feel. Love is short.
Well, we'll get right back to the fabulous Ebin-Rose Trio in just a minute, but I wanted to pass along some information on what sounds like a fun fundraiser to benefit the Lyme Land Conservation Trust. May 18th, the Tour de Lyme will be leaving and one hopes returning safely to Ashlawn Farm in Lyme. It's a cycling event with something for cyclists of all levels, including some mountain bikes. There's a post-ride picnic at Ashlawn Farm, and the music will be provided by the 8 Mile River Band. They're going to be bringing you some bluegrass to wind down from after the ride. Maybe a little early for my legs still, but it's May 18th, Ashlawn Farm, benefiting the Lyme Land Conservation Trust. We'll get the website up here for you and for more information. All right, thank you.
Why does it always happen? Beats the hell out of me. Just when you think that it's right, there's something you didn't see. She's got black paintings on the wall. She changed the number, don't bother to call. She's got a blue attitude. She's got a blue attitude. I always thought that the road would lead me home. Always thought I could borrow against myself. But the night at my window keeps reminding me I'm farther from home than I dreamt I would be, with a blue attitude. With a blue attitude. I trusted myself to the heart of my dreams. I can't remember even half of the changing solitude.
Welcome to Cabinet of Curiosities. This month we're going to look at one of my favorites, the steel guitar, in an amusing juxtaposition, unlike the Hawaiian tremolo, which was actually manufactured in New Jersey. The steel guitar actually has its origins in Hawaii. By the late 1800s, the guitar had made its way to Hawaii, a Spanish guitar, brought by Spanish, Portuguese immigrants and sailors, and the Mexican cowboys who arrived to work on the cattle ranches in Hawaii. The Hawaiians had adapted it to their own slack key style, which in Hawaiian literally translated to loosen the tuning key, where they tune the guitars to an open chord, typically G, and then some of the strings were a bit loose, and hence the term slack key guitar. Here the story's a little fuzzy. All accounts agree that it was Joseph Kakuku, and I'm taking the easy way out on his name, the shortened version. And his age varies between 7 and 15. I'd go with young teens. In all of them, he's got a Spanish guitar with him. It's tuned in the open slack key style. He's walking down either a road, train tracks, and he finds a rusted bolt or some sort of chunk of metal. He picks it up and he starts messing with it against the strings of his open tuned guitar, and he likes what he hears. So he continues to experiment with it, using the back of a knife blade, a steel comb. He eventually gets help from his shop teacher, and they create what is the first steel, and very similar to what is still in use today. Over the years, it evolved. In 1928, the Dopiero brothers added a resonator cone to the guitar to make it louder. For their Dobro manufacturing company. They're still mistakenly all called Dobros, whether they were made by that company or not now. In the early 30s, George Bochet and Adolf Rickenbacker were looking to amplify the guitar with the newly invented pickup. And the first ever electric guitar was the A22 frying pan style lap steel guitar, a couple years before Leo Fender and his work, and not making it under the wire as the first electric instrument, because if you'll recall, the theremin was patented in the late 20s. So, but it was the first electric guitar was actually one of these little guys. The limitations imposed by the open tuning, if you're tuned to an open major, you need a minor or a seventh. It was problematic for the player. Led to the introduction of additional strings to be added to give more opportunities to the player, which then in turn led to multi-neck, the console guitar they were called, where you'd have several necks on the same instrument that would be tuned differently. Gibson, in the early 40s, came up with the idea of adding a pedal, which I guess in harps was used to change tuning at the time, had never been used on a guitar, but it was designed to change tuning between songs. 1953, Bud Isaacs had a pretty good idea where he actually attached pedals that would change the tuning of just a couple of strings at a time, and was actually designed to be used during the song, which gave now what is the distinctive pedal steel sound, which we will be stopping by to visit an old friend, caught up with, who plays pedal steel, and so we're going to get a little of that a little bit later. But I think right now, what I will do, I will demonstrate this little guy, which is an electro, which somehow related to the Rickenbacker line. And then we're going to hop over and take a look at a pedal steel. Thanks again for joining me. Hello, I am here with Wendy Ingram, who you may remember from last month's episode. We just got rid of Brian May, and I wasn't going to let the pedal steel go before I got to maybe film a little close-up. The Cabinet of Curiosities that is currently going is the lap steel guitar, which is very closely related to the pedal steel guitar, which this young lady is playing. So, Ms. Ingram, if you would be so kind, perhaps you could tell us a little about the differences. It looks a little more complicated than what I was playing earlier.
Well, certainly, Mark. To me, it's very complicated. But the one big difference is it has legs.
Nice.
It also has pedals which move specific strings up a whole step or a half a step. It also has knee levers which also move strings either up or down a half a step or a whole step, or you can configure them to basically do whatever you'd like them to do.
Nice. I think that's maybe too complicated for me. I think I'll stick with the little Rick. So maybe you could play us a little something to take us out of this segment.
Sure.
Very nice. Thank you, Ms. Ingram, and thank you for watching at home. This has been yet another Cabinet of Curiosities. Well, thanks again for watching Shoreline Music Monthly, and thanks to the Ebin-Rose Trio for livening up our studio this evening. We're going to bring them out again, but remember, they're out there playing live all the time, so do yourself a favor and get out and catch them live. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And we'll see you all next month. Thanks.
sincere behind the fear. Ohio, awaken from the dream. We both know how real it can seem. Tomorrow, recall those happy scenes and wonder. Distant, misted mountain range, so beautiful, so quick to change from snow to sun. What's done is done.